Hey, yo everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Batman New 52 Volume 7 Endgame. So, I'm sorry it's been a while since I put up an actual video review. I've been really neglecting my comic load video. I'm thinking about maybe just doing a video to give you guys my updated thoughts on each comic that's out that I'm reading right now, and then go from there. But, yeah. Life has been crazy, and you guys kind of know it. And for those of you that follow me on Facebook, or I'm starting to get my Twitter back up and running, and actually start posting on that. I'm starting to get a little bit more stability in life. You know, there's that work-life balance, and I'm finally, starting to get that. And I can go into details with that later. But yeah, so. I apologize for the layout of the room. I'm kind of liking what I'm doing. I'm changing things around. If you notice in the back there, I got this large cabinet here just for Batman. If I can actually take this away. So you got the large cabinet for Batman. I can go into these details later. And this is the Justice League. Then you got miscellaneous comic book people. And then you got the Batman allies and Deathstroke. And then others, villains, Justice League, whatnot, and yeah, I used to have all my comics over there. I'm moving all my Power Ranger stuff over there, but now I have the comics over here, so pretty cool. I'm liking the rearrangement of the room, and maybe once I get everything set in place and where I want to be, I can show you what I'm doing over there, because I got some video game stuff going over there, some Transformer, Dragon Ball Z, Star Wars, Star Trek stuff over there, so I'm kind of just playing around. That's the funny thing about when you move into a house, or even an apartment or a condo or anything, you're never quite satisfied where things are, but I'm starting to get to a happy medium on where things is. But listen, we're not here to talk about my room, or my living situations, or anything like that. We're here to talk about Batman. And we might as well start getting into the review. I am skipping ahead to Volume 7. I believe where we last left off, it was Volume 4, and that was Batman's Secret City. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the last review I did, at least of the New 52 graphic novels. And a lot of you guys probably already know my general opinions on these stories before we actually get into the reviews, because I reviewed the individual issues when they came out. But the great thing about getting graphic novels and trade paperbacks is because you can actually read them as one cohesive story and get different opinions on it. So, like, when you read an individual issue, the way it's kind of, presented to you is different than when you read an actual graphic novel. That's why sometimes picking up trades and graphic novels may be a better idea than getting individual issues. I mean, let's be realistic. There's really only three ways, kind of, that you can get comics. You can get them in individual issues, you can get them in collected trades, or you can get them on digital, which, whatever floats your boat. It doesn't really much matter, but there is an advantage of getting trades, other than, convenience. You don't have to go and search for all the issues or consistently stay up to date with the issues, and you got the whole story there. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with getting issues. I get them. Since the New 52 started up till now, I've just been collecting issues like a badass. But again, let's get into the actual review. I jumped up to Volume 7 because Endgame is such an important thing about the New 52 Batman. It's really kind of the end of New 52 Batman that we know of. There are volumes afterwards, but it's a different Batman. And we'll jump into that for those of you that don't know what happens a little bit later. But this is really important because when you think Endgame, you think Joker. And when you think Joker, you think Batman and Joker. Two arch nemesis of each other. And there's several comic book arch nemesis out there. There's Superman and Lex Luthor. There's Flash and Reverse Flash. There's Aquaman and Black Manta. Wonder Woman and Cersei. Wolverine and Sabretooth. Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Captain America and Red Skull. Tons of different arch nemesis. And there's typically two kinds of arch nemesis. There is the Dark Mirror version, which is like the evil version of that person. So an example would be Reverse Flash and Flash. They are opposites. They're very similar, but one's the evil version, one's the good version. Another example would be Black Manta, who is a evil version of Aquaman, for lack of a better term. But then you have the foil, which is the opposite of the character in many ways. So the best way to show it is Lex Luthor and Superman. Superman's all about physical strength and the ability to fly and do these fantastic feats. And Luthor is just a human that doesn't have these fantastic feats, but uses his mind and uses it for evil. That's not to say Superman's not smart. I mean, please, he has a Kryptonian intellect that is like a supercomputer. But Superman is a foil to Lex, and Lex is a foil to Superman because they're opposites in many ways. Same can be said about Joker and Batman. In so many different ways with these characters. You know, Joker's all about chaos and evil and craziness, where Batman's all about law and order. Despite the fact he breaks the laws sometimes. But law and order and good and peace and justice. And they're really, you know, Batman's about, you know, martial arts and different ways of fighting and this physical prowess to him and having this discipline where the way Joker fights is very unpredictable and very crazy and you never know what's going to happen, which is very highlighted in here. But last we left off with the Joker, it was Batman versus Joker, Joker with no face, and Batman basically, you know, telling him, I know who you are, let me whisper it into your ear, and then Joker falls off a cliff, and you don't see him again. Way back in the day, I thought it was going to be the return of Hush, because Hush was going to put his fucking face back on, and Joker's going to come back, and that's not how it played out, but Joker did come back, and he comes back in this story, Endgame, which starts off with Batman chillaxing, having a good time, playing the new Nintendo Switch, because he got, you know, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and he has to play on the Switch. He's not getting on the Wii U, but he pre-ordered that shit right when it came out, like a boy right here already pre-ordered it. Batman's just chilling until he is attacked by Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, what are you doing in the Batman story? I guess even fishier. Wonder Woman attacks Batman, and Batman dons a special kind of armor. It's called the Juster Buster armor. It's, for lack of a better term, it doesn't really have a name, but that's what everyone's calling it, especially the toy, which is right up there. And not only is he attacked by Wonder Woman, but he's attacked by Aquaman and Flash and various members of the Justice League. Luckily, his armor is built to defend himself against the Justice League, but it isn't until Big Blue himself comes flying down does Batman have the real challenge. Batman versus Superman for the 9th millionth time, but a little bit different. Because most of the time when Batman and Superman fight, it's in Elseworld stories or What Ifs or in various different medias. But this is them fighting New 52, Prime Universe, ready to go, and his Batman and his Justice Buster armor versus Superman. And we eventually find out that the Justice League has been mind-controlled and poisoned by the Joker. And this is a legitimate Justice League. So why did Joker do this? Well, one is because he wants to strike at Batman in various different levels, whether it be friends, family, close ones, allies, whatever the case may be. And two, imagine for a second in the craziness of the DC Universe that there is no Justice League. A day, a week, without the Justice League around, chaos could ensue. It could be absolute psycho. Anything could happen, and there's no one to defend the Earth. Luckily, that doesn't happen, but hey, I mean, it's still a pretty good plan by the Joker, but that's not Joker's real thing here. See, the Joker's last encounter with Batman is about love. It's about, hey, I love you, we're perfect for each other, you're my yin to the yang, like, we are going to be entangled and do this forever. But this, no, Joker's pissed at Batman, and now he's like, nope, I'm going to end it all. I'm going to kill you, I'm going to do it in a horrific manner, and I'm going to do it hardcore parkour. And throughout this, we also see the Joker has his face back on, everything's good, no scar marks, everything is all Gucci, and we wonder why Joker is better. How did he get his face back? Is this the real Joker? Is this someone else? Who knows? But the one thing for sure is at the end of the story, we get Batman versus the Joker in their final climactic battle. And really, it has been their final battle in a long time, because after this happens, we have not seen Joker in Rebirth. And we have not seen Joker interact with Batman. I know Joker's popping up in Harley Quinn, but I don't know if that's actually Joker. And if it is, it's still not Joker versus Batman. This is really kind of the final showdown with them. So, let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. I know I'm guilty of this, but it does get me happy to see the Batman versus the Justice League. I know it's kind of unrealistic, but it's always tickles me in the right way when Batman can stand up against superpowers, in particular his allies. A lot of people often ask the question, why is Batman ever on the Justice League? What can he deliver that the other superheroes can't? Well, a million things, mainly this, but it shows that Batman, if need be, can rise to the occasion, and him donning this Justice Buster armor was a pretty cool thing to see. It's not how I would have done Batman versus the Justice League. Oh no, I would have done Batman versus the Justice League a lot different. If you guys ever want to hear the opinions on that, I will give it someday. But it's cool to see him go up against them. In addition to that, the final fight between Batman and Joker is very well done. And I do like how they explained how Joker came back and how it ties into the overall arc of the story. There's some really creepy moments in here. I think the creepiest one is when Joker's hiding under the bed or the sofa or whatever it is of Commissioner Gordon's house. Very, very creepy. And I think this is probably, without the doubt, the most unsettling the Joker has been in a long time. Not the most unsettling he's been ever, but still very unsettling. The dialogue is very well written. The art really dynamically shows what can be done when a powerhouse like Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo come together, make out, and produce this thing. A fantastic Batman comic. And the great thing about this is also the ending. Like, it ends. And if you never read another Batman story ever again, it's a good ending. But of course, there's more to be because like there's more Batman stories in New 52, and there's more Batman stories now in Rebirth. So obviously, it's not the exact end, but still, it's really good stuff. Bad. In the fight between the Justice League and Batman, there's some pretty good stuff. I like when he fights Wonder Woman. I like when he fights Flash, but there's a couple things that kind of irked me the wrong way. Aquaman was just taken out way too quickly, and for a company that's really been trying to rebuild the reputation of Aquaman, and although this is a minor instance, way to just throw him under the bus. Like, it should have been much more interesting on how Batman takes out Aquaman, other than what he did. And Superman vs. Batman is really badass up until the end. And I'm not talking about the dialogue. No, the dialogue is really good, especially when Batman says, in a fight between Batman and Superman, who wins? Answer, no one. Really good touch there. But is how he defeats Superman? Ugh, not how I would have done. I would have done Kryptonian Ring, Kryptonite Ring, but I don't have any control over this. I'm not Scott Snyder, I'm not Dan DiDio, I'm not Jim Lee, I'm not DC Comics, I'm not Warner Brothers. But, I mean, it's a little silly because it involves kryptonite in an odd way, but Superman does have a resistance to a point with kryptonite. Like, if you do a little piece like this, I mean, it's going to bug the shit out of him. It's going to hurt him, but it's not going to do what happened to him in this. So, I'm going to leave that at there. In addition to that, there was the inclusion of the Court of Owls in here, which I really didn't think was necessary. It was a nice throwback because this is kind of the start of the end of the New 52, but at the end it's saying, like, oh, remember this story, the big badass story that I did at the beginning? Well, I'm going to make reference to it here. It's a nice reference, but wasn't necessary. Although I do like the reference to Crazy Quilt because he is in here in a very interesting way. New 52 Crazy Quilt is not quite as Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Well, it's Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but not dressing up in a quilted costume Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. If you don't know who Crazy Quilt is, don't worry about that. That's Silver Age shit. But on a whole, whether or not you should get it. See, I have an odd opinion when it comes down to Batman and Joker stories. Mainly Joker stories, because see, I like the Joker, but he's not my favorite Batman villain. But I will admit that he is basically the arch nemesis of Batman. The thing that really kills me about Batman and Joker stories is there's been a ton of them. And you can just point to the collection right over there, right now. See, I'm pointing to it right there. And literally, you can pick any Batman story out there that has a Joker in it, and you can say that's a fantastic Batman story. Right off the bat, you could say Killing Joke, Death of the Family. I mean, even Hush, for the little that Joker's in there, great fucking stuff. You want to do New 52? Death of Family was one of my favorite Batman stories, and arguably it could be one of my favorite Joker stories. Now, mind you, I just said something there. it could be one of my favorite Joker stories. And in the contrast of Joker stories, I do believe Death of the Family is a better story. But that doesn't mean this is a bad story at all. If anything, Endgame is a really good story that just has minor tweaks and faults here and there. It's a good ending to Batman and Joker, if there was to ever be a true ending to the two of them. It handles it very well. The fight is really good. You actually see Joker fight in it, which is pretty cool. Because you always say, like, how can Joker really stand up to Batman? Oh, well, he kind of does it here. Although with a little bit of assist. But anyways, this is a good story. I do recommend picking up. Scott Snyder's entire run of Batman is just a phenomenal run. There's only a few stories that I'm kind of iffy on, which we'll get into eventually. And eventually we're going to go back to the 0 year stuff. I know I jumped ahead, but I really wanted to jump ahead because this is a story that needs to be talked about. But if you want a final rating on this, I will give this a 5 out of 5 stars. Even though I have a few gripes here and there, they're few and minor in between, and it doesn't really affect the overall story. How he defeats Superman doesn't change the fact he defeats Superman, or he stops Superman. I wouldn't say defeats, but he slows him down. Like, the fact that the Quarter Owls were in there really didn't take away from the final confrontation with the Joker. It was an overall well laid out, well-paced, and well-done story. And what I really particularly like about this is Scott Snyder only real weakness in comics, at least for me, is the same weakness that Jeff Johns has, which is that they do a fantastic build-up to the story, and sometimes the ending is a letdown. Taking point, Court of Owls. Court of Owls had great build-up. It was a fantastic story, well done, but the ending was kind of like it should have been another issue of him fighting, Lincoln March. This, however, the ending was a great final fight, boss battle thingamajiggy of the comics that he's done. I would say this has one of the best endings. Still, I think Death of the Family is a better ending, but this does a very good job. I highly recommend getting this and picking this up. And the great thing about this, you don't really need to read any of the other New 52 stuff to hop into this at all. You could go down to your local comic store, Barnes & Noble, Newberry Comics, Amazon, eBay, wherever you want to purchase it, get it, and just read it for what it is. Because like I said, looking back on it, you don't need to know much. You just need to know that Joker's pissed. Like, there's very few references to anything else. You might be confused on why Dick Grayson is not wearing Nightwing costume, but hey, shit happens. But yeah, 5 out of 5 stars right here. Pick it up. And with that said, this is Andrew saying, peace out for now.